There was once a god on the peak of Olympus who hurled thunderbolts down upon the mortal world, who made the titans tremble, who forced the whole world to bow before his throne. His name was Zeus, but in the oldest stories of Greece, there is one very strange moment. A moment when the king of the gods did not dare to strike. Not because he was weak, not because the one before him was stronger in an ordinary battle, but because that being belonged to something older than any throne, older than any law, older than the light in the sky. That being was Nyx, the goddess of night. And the question that sends a chill down the spine is this: what was it about Nyx that made Zeus, the proudest god of Olympus, step back? In Greek mythology, night was not merely the darkness after sunset. It was not simply the absence of light. Night was a living entity, a primordial power, a great mother who had existed since the universe had not yet known order. Before the golden palaces of Olympus, before the seas of Poseidon, before the underworld of Hades, even before humanity looked up at the sky and named the constellations, night was already there, silent, vast, with no need to proclaim her power, because her very existence was power. The ancient Greeks said that, in the beginning, there was only chaos. Not chaos like noise and disorder, but an endless void, a shapeless abyss with no boundaries, number day, no night, no life, and not yet even death. From that void, the first forces of the universe slowly emerged. Gaia, the earth; Tartarus, the abyss; Eros, the force that drew all things toward one another; and Nyx, the night. Nyx was not born from any other god. She needed no father, no mother, no throne to be acknowledged. She was one of the first powers to step out from the heart of chaos itself. That made her different from many of the gods we often hear about. Zeus had Cronus as his father. Athena was born from the head of Zeus. Apollo and Artemis were the children of Leto. But Nyx was different. She did not belong to a dynasty of gods. She was the foundation beneath every dynasty. Try to imagine a world with no dawn, no birdsong, no campfire, no human shadow cast upon the ground. Only a deep night covering everything that had not yet taken form. In that darkness, Nyx did not walk like a queen who needed an entourage. She drifted across the universe like the first breath of mystery. Her cloak was not woven from fabric, but from starless skies, from the fears of creatures not yet born, from the silence before fate began to speak. People often think light is what gave birth to the world, but in the ancient Tales, darkness was the first cradle. Before humans learned to love the light, they had already learned to fear the dark, and that fear was not childish. It came from a deep instinct, from the knowledge that within darkness there are things the eyes cannot see, yet the soul can still feel. Nyx was the divine form of that feeling. She was not an evil goddess in any simple sense. She did not need to descend onto the battlefield, shout, kill, or destroy to prove that she was terrifying. Nyx was terrifying because she was silent. For there are powers that become more fearsome the less they speak. The younger gods fought over thrones, battled, deceived one another, swore oaths, and then betrayed them. Nyx existed beyond all that noise. She was like the deep night that falls after every war, reminding all beings that whether god or mortal, everyone must eventually close their eyes before the dark. From Nyx came many children, but these were no ordinary children. She gave birth to sleep, death, dream, fate, misery, deceit, blame, old age, and many other powers whose names alone are enough to chill the human spine. Notice this carefully. The children of Nyx were not merely characters in a story. They were things from which no one could escape. A king may build high walls. A warrior may win 100 battles. A sage may understand many secrets. But no one escapes sleep. No one bargains with death. No one passes through life without encountering sorrow, deception, old age, dreams, regret, or fate. Nyx did not rule with armies. She ruled through silent laws buried in the blood and bones of every living being. Among the children of Nyx, two are especially tied to the story that made Zeus hesitate. They were Hypnos, the god of sleep, and Thanatos, the god of death. These two brothers were not loud, not dazzling like Apollo, not fiery like Ares, not sharply wise like Athena, but their powers touched every form of existence. Sleep could soften the rage of kings, make warriors lower their weapons, and pull even gods away from wakefulness. As for death, there is no need to explain. It does not argue. It simply arrives. It is told that during the Trojan War, the goddess Hera wanted to deceive Zeus in order to help the Greeks. But to do that, she needed Zeus to fall asleep, and the only one who could accomplish such a thing was Hypnos, the son of Nyx. Hypnos had once put Zeus to sleep before, but afterward he nearly suffered the terrible wrath of the thunder god. Zeus was so furious that he chased Hypnos everywhere. When Zeus was angry, heaven and earth could tremble. His thunderbolts had struck down giants and punished those who dared challenge the order of Olympus. But Hypnos fled back to his mother, and when Hypnos hid beside Nyx, Zeus stopped. It is a small detail, but its weight is enormous. Zeus did not stop because he could not find Hypnos. He stopped because Hypnos was with Nyx. The king of Olympus could fight the Titans. He could imprison enemies in Tartarus. He could impose law upon gods and mortals alike. But before Nyx, he chose not to touch her. Why? Because Zeus understood that some powers cannot be overthrown by thunderbolts. Nyx was not merely one goddess among a list of gods. She was Primordial Night, the force that existed before the very order Zeus ruled. If Zeus was the king of a kingdom, then Nyx was the night that covered the land before that kingdom was ever built. If Olympus was a radiant palace on a mountain peak, then Nyx was the black sky surrounding that mountain every night. A king may command within his palace, but he cannot command the night to stop falling. Zeus was powerful, but his power belonged to the new order. He was the victor after the war between generations of gods. He represented the sky, law, thunder, authority, and dominion. But Nyx belonged to a deeper layer of the universe. She did not need to win a war to be feared. She did not need a throne to hold status. She was part of the structure of existence itself, like death, sleep, fate, fear, and secrets. There is a vast difference between visible power and invisible power. The power of Zeus sounded like thunder. It startled everyone. It struck enemies down. It appeared bright, violent, and direct. But the power of Nyx was like midnight. It did not need to explode. It simply descended, and every sound grew small. No matter how great a fire may be, it only illuminates a certain space. Darkness embraces even the fire. The ancient Greeks understood this very well. They lived in a world without electric lights, without glowing cities, without screens to chase away silence. When the sun went down, darkness truly arrived. Forests became different. The sea became different. Familiar roads suddenly felt strange. Even the wind could sound like a whisper. And in that darkness, human beings realized just how small they were. That is why Nyx was not only a mythological figure. She was the name the ancients gave to the feeling of helplessness before things beyond control. We may plan for tomorrow, but night still brings dreams we did not choose. We may build reputation, wealth, and power, but old age still approaches silently. We may love fiercely, but death still has the right to knock at the door. All these things are children of Nyx, or they live beneath her shadow. What makes Nyx so captivating is that she is not entirely evil. Night does not contain only fear. It also contains rest. Without night, humans would not know sleep. Without darkness, the stars would not appear. Without silence, the soul would have no place to listen to itself. Nyx is both terrifying and gentle. She can hide monsters, but she can also shelter the weary. She may be the cloak of secrets, but she is also the blanket of sleep. Perhaps that is why the image of Nyx in imagination always carries a very different kind of beauty. Not the radiant beauty of Aphrodite, which compels every eye to turn. Not the proud beauty of Hera, covered in royal splendor. The beauty of Nyx is the beauty of a moonless sky, of eyes that know too many secrets, of a mother standing at the edge of the world, quietly watching her children enter life and change the fate of every living being. She is often imagined with vast black wings or with a cloak covered in stars. Sometimes she rides a chariot across the sky, drawing night behind her after the light of Hemera, goddess of day, withdraws. In ancient storytelling, day and night were not merely natural phenomena. They were like two breaths of the universe. When Hemera stepped out, Nyx went in. When Nyx returned, Hemera withdrew. They did not necessarily hate each other. They took turns existing, like life and rest, like wakefulness and dreaming. But do not mistake Nyx's stillness for weakness. The younger gods may forget what lies beneath their world. They may become drunk on power, thinking that whoever holds thunder, sea, or war holds everything. But Nyx reminds them that some things cannot be ruled. No one can rule the darkness within themselves. No one can command a nightmare to stop. No one can force fate to bow, simply because they sit upon a throne. Zeus feared Nyx not in the way a coward fears a sword. His fear was the caution of an intelligent king standing before a power older than his own laws. He knew that if he confronted Nyx, it would not merely be a conflict between two individuals. It would be the new order challenging primordial night. And perhaps even Zeus did not know how great the cost of that would be. In mythology, sometimes the most frightening thing is not what attacks us. The most frightening thing is what we dare not touch. Nyx is that kind of power. She does not need to appear in too many stories. She does not need to be mentioned constantly like Zeus, Athena, or Hercules. Just a few appearances, just a few details, are enough for us to understand that in the Greek universe, there are depths that the light of Olympus cannot reach. And when we look closely, we see that Nyx is like the dark side of every myth. Heroes march to war beneath the sun, but they fear the night before battle. Kings declare victory in public squares, but they grow old in the darkness of private rooms. Prophecies may be spoken by day, but the dread of them often grows at night. Every glory has a shadow, and within that shadow, Nyx is present. Perhaps that is why the story of Nyx remains fascinating even today. Because although the world has changed so much, humanity has still not escaped the night. We have electricity, cities, technology, glowing screens in our hands. But there are still nights when we lie awake and cannot sleep. There are still fears we cannot name. There are still dreams that wake us with pounding hearts. There is still the feeling that behind the bright life of daylight, there is a deeper region, quieter, more silent, and more real. Nyx does not live only in mythology. She lives in the moment when the final lamp goes out, in the silence after a loss, in the coldness we feel when we realize we cannot control everything. But she also lives in the peaceful sleep after a long day, in the star-filled sky, in the night that hides our tears, so that by morning we may continue walking. If Zeus is the thunder that makes people lift their heads, then Nyx is the darkness that makes people lower their gaze into their own souls. If Zeus rules the sky through authority, then Nyx covers the universe through presence. One is the power of the victor. The other is the power of something that never needed victory, because it existed before every war. And in the end, perhaps what made Zeus hesitate was not only the power of Nyx, but the truth she represented, that every light has a limit. Every throne casts a shadow. Every god, no matter how great, must live in a universe that does not entirely belong to him. When night falls over Olympus, the golden roofs of the palaces still shine beneath the stars. Zeus still sits upon his throne, still holding thunder in his hand. The gods may still feast, argue, love, and scheme. But beyond that light, Nyx silently crosses the sky. She needs no proclamation, no servants, no procession. Only her silence is enough for the world to understand that an ancient power has returned. And perhaps, in that moment, even Zeus remembers that he was not the beginning of all things. Before him, there was night. After him, night will remain. That is Nyx, the goddess of night, not the enemy of light, but the force that reminds light of its fragility. Not a roaring monster from legend, but the ancient mother of sleep, death, fate, and secrets no one dares to name. A goddess who does not need to rule Olympus, because every night, when the sky closes, Olympus itself lies beneath her cloak.